Okay, number 7. This is a bad question. Um, Here's the deal with this. Pretty much everyone gets it wrong, and most people have no clue. They're just kind of guessing. But if you practice for the SAT, this question becomes a lot easier. Mostly because you start to learn the rules that the SAT is playing by. And so the main strategy here is to sense the difficulty. So, big picture, in the no calc section, where can I put this? Let's put this over here. The no calc section of the SAT, you've got 15 questions that are multiple choice, and then 5 questions that are those free response grid-in questions. And the structure of the section is basically that it goes from easy to hard in that 1 through 15. Then it kind of resets and kind of goes the same way, easy to hard. But the big picture here is that in the multiple choice, you can kind of tell how difficult a question is supposed to be based on the question number. So with that in mind, number 7 is kind of in the middle. So it looks really, really hard. But according to the rules of the SAT, it's supposed to be kind of easy. And the way that helps me solve the question is then I know that there's probably some very easy thing to do to get the answer. That the story, the equation, all the complexity that's very obvious when I just look at it probably doesn't matter when I look a little deeper and try to understand the math. So what are they trying to get me to do? If the question's wording is weird, the answer choices make it really clear. We're solving for P. We need to get P alone. And so I see how P is attached to this monster of an expression here. It's through multiplication. And so there's a lot of ways to think about it. I'm gonna do it kind of this, I don't know, what I think is an easy way. Hopefully this kind of makes sense to you. If I simplify all the weird terms, I can kind of make this look like this. M is equal to X times Y over Z, or let's keep it even simpler. Y minus 1 times P. Okay? So I've basically just taken the complicated terms and simplified them for a second by using slightly different letters. And the point I'm going to make is that, well, if we wanted to get P alone, we would try to get rid of this fraction. And so what we would do is we would multiply by the reciprocal, right? So if I wanted to get rid of the X, for example, I would multiply the bottom, or that side, by X on the bottom of a fraction, right? Because if something is on the top of a fraction and on the bottom, then we can reduce it. So the reciprocal is our way of getting rid of all the fractiony stuff in one step, because what it does is it takes the stuff on the top and moves it to the bottom, and the stuff on the bottom and moves it to the top. And when I do that, everything cancels out as it should, leaving me with just the P left. But with anything with algebra, if we do it to one side, we've got to do it to the other. So if we multiplied by y minus 1 over x times y on the right side, we have to multiply it on the left side. And you can see what's going to happen here. The thing that was once on the bottom is now on the top. And the stuff that was once on the top is now on the bottom. Everything flipped. And so that's why choice B is the answer. Because it's that exact same monster fraction, except flipped upside down. The reciprocal, right? See, look, r plus 12, or r over 1200 used to be on the top, now it's on the bottom. This other weird one, 1 plus r over 1200 to the n, now it's on the bottom, it was on the top, and what was once on the bottom is now on the top, right? So everything's flipping. We're using a very basic mathematical tool, the reciprocal of a fraction, to solve this hard-looking question. Simple solution, hard question. That's how the SAT kind of gets us in these like middle difficulty questions. It looks really bad, but the bark is worse than the bite, okay? It's very simple. Now, I will talk quickly about one mistake that a lot of people make. what they like to do, I'm going to use the highlighter here, is they like to eliminate this term with the term above it that looks exactly the same. So 1 plus r over 1200 to the n. And I say, oh, okay, well, you know, if it's on the top and the bottom, we get rid of it, right? I just said that when I was describing the reciprocal. The problem is that they're not actually the same. Part of them is the same. But as soon as we stick this minus 1 here, the game changes. The bottom is no longer 1 plus r over 1200 to the n. It's 1 plus r over 1200 to the n minus 1. It's kind of like we just took all that and put a big old thing of parentheses around it. Right? So to do that on my other one, right, y minus 1, that is like a term. Basically, we can't mix addition and subtraction with multiplication and division very easily. And that's what's going on here, is that that term has some subtraction in it. And so it has to behave as one term because we can't mix that subtraction with the division of the fraction. Those are different kinds of operations. Multiplication and division, they can mix really easily. That's why we just use the reciprocal. Addition and subtraction can mix really easily. But addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, they don't mix with each other very well. That's why we have a lot of other operations like distribution and FOILing and factoring. All of that is kind of nature's way of letting us mix those things. But here, it means that C and D aren't going to be right because we can't just eliminate those terms and make them disappear. They stick around. And so all that's really happening is the fraction is kind of flipping as we move it, and everything else is kind of staying the same. This is hard. This is a very intimidating number 7. And for many of you, this might be the first practice test that you're doing, so you're not used to this kind of stuff yet, but pay attention to it. Think about difficulty. Think about where you are in a section as you're doing a question. If it's supposed to be hard, then yeah, it can be hard. But if it's supposed to be kind of easy or medium, my advice is just like, do the most obvious thing, show your work, take a chance. Odds are very good that it'll work itself out in some easy way. And that's usually up to question 10 in the no calculator section. So yeah, it's gettable. You just need the confidence.